absolutely unbelievable. The biggest L of the Game Awards. Holy shit. I really hope that people are making videos about this. It's the only reason I'm talking about this is that, like, I'm fairly certain that no one else has noticed this or cares or, like, wants to involve themselves in this drama, because I'm sure most of the people involved in this scene are in the position where they want to 100% be behind one of the biggest grifter shills in the industry. They don't want to call this person out. They don't want to address the situation. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to point out something that should be talked about, because that would go against the narrative that the Game Awards is some wholesome, well-constructed, well-put-together show that has the interests of gamers and developers in mind. We cannot talk about this because it would make them look like retards. So this really needs to be talked about, and we really need to address this. The story released by the gaming media, specifically by former IGN shill Alanah Pierce, the story released by the media that the Black Myth Wukong lead director broke down in tears after Astrobot won Game of the Year. Now, this was something I heard when it happened. Like, I heard people talk about it. You know, I heard people, like, make jokes like, oh, he said he had an acceptance speech written 2 years before the show. Like, you know, I heard stuff like that. But then I began hearing other things. I began hearing things from people who were there, who were nearby, who confirmed that that didn't fucking happen. It was entirely made up out of whole cloth to try and make the Black Myth Wukong devs look retarded. Right. If this sounds familiar, this is very similar to what happened last year with The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, where for some reason, people had this idea that, like, giving Baldur's Gate 3 a Game of the Year award would somehow, like, make Nintendo seethe, right? This was somehow, like, some big, massive L for Tears of the Kingdom, when in reality, Tears of the Kingdom was hugely successful and popular, and everyone prefers it over Baldur's Gate 3. But, like, the narrative was that Anoma was, like, seething, right? Like, he was so upset because he got wrecked by the PC game. It was just a code, right? It was just a narrative that was pushed to try and make Swen look cooler. When this guy is irrelevant, nobody cares about his game, he sucks, right? You know, fucking hate Swen, hate Larian, hate Baldur's Gate 3. This is a rehash of this, right? You know, I've been very critical of Black Myth Wukong in certain respects. You know, I don't think it's a very notable release. I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it really deserved to be nominated for Game of the Year. But, like, this story, I think, really showcases that people are onto something when they say the gaming journalism industry, for whatever reason, is trying to sabotage Black Myth Wukong. Right, because you would never see them do this in regards to a PlayStation exclusive, right? They didn't do this with, like, Spider-Man 2 or Alan Wake 2 or any of the games they want to push. But because Black Myth Wukong is made by people who are, like, outside of their circle, right? Because it's, like, made from a Chinese developer, right? They seem to feel very, very comfortable in coming out and making these really ludicrous claims about the game. And this goes back, like, you know, all throughout the release cycle, but, like, people caught on to this, and were addressing this, and were pointing this out. And, like, for me personally, yeah, this is the kind of thing that should lead the Game Awards to being dismissed by everyone. Because this is an example of Jeff Keighley and his shills, people like Alanah Pierce, using the awards show to push their insane conspiracy theories, right? To push their agenda, right? Like, Black Myth Wukong was nominated specifically to fail, just like Tears of the Kingdom, just like Super Mario Bros. Wonder, right? The idea was to create the illusion that this random PlayStation exclusive Astrobot was way bigger and more successful than Black Myth Wukong. And they went out of their way to try and fabricate weird stories about the developers after the fact. To me, this is completely and totally unacceptable, right? This is proof that the Game Awards are a sham, right? Jeff Keighley and his ilk are just ruining gaming for their own benefit, undermining other honest developers who have done everything they possibly could to make a good, fulfilling, entertaining game in order to prop up absolute bullshit. Every single time this happens. And usually Nintendo is the victim, but this is like a very once in a blue moon style thing where they're not. And yeah, I feel the exact same way, right? This is something that should not have happened. And for me, I think this is something that we need to keep talking about. This is something we need to rail on them for. This is something that, I want to see Alanah Pearce apologize publicly for. People should be aware that this individual is a complete cocksucker who was formerly employed by a PlayStation studio. Why would you ever listen to this individual about anything? She is David Jaffe tier relevant, okay? And yet for some reason, you keep seeing people come out well, Alanah Pearce, she's such a great streamer. She makes so many great points. PlayStation's the best. No. Absolutely not. She is the worst. And this is just one example as to why that is. And this is something that we need to keep hammering in on. This is something we need to talk about. I don't want to sit there and listen to the Grums do his thing. Well, actually, I'm mostly concerned about Stellar Blade not being nominated at all. No, this is what really matters when it comes to these kind of award shows, right? This is the kind of behavior that should not be allowed, period, by anyone. This is something that should be condemned by the community. And yet, we're just not really seeing it from anyone. I imagine everyone's doing damage control for Alanah Pearce right now. I imagine people are going to try to brush us under the rug. No. It 100% needs to be said that Alanah Pearce is a lying bitch who needs to be put down.